You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sarah J. Loureiro.
Welcome to another episode of the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. This is me, Sarah, and I have a very exciting announcement. Over the past few months, I've kind of just been checking to see when we would cross this milestone, and we officially crossed the milestone this month. So we are officially a $3 million online coaching brand, which to me is so crazy. And I didn't even think that this was going to be a milestone that I would ever be able to cross. Yet here we are. And so I thought it would be a really fun episode for you to just kind of put a lot of things into perspective in terms of when all of this started, how it's been going, and how I've really truly manifested a life beyond my wildest dreams, which is really fun to say. It also feels kind of cheesy because I don't love saying things like that. I don't want to be cringy, but I also want you to know that this is also possible for you. And I think that a lot of people see me and they see my life now, and they don't understand where my life was. And they don't understand that I didn't really come from a wealthy family. I didn't come from any type of, I didn't really get anything handed to me. It's very wild how I was able to get here really through having my thoughts create my beliefs that in turn created my decisions, which in turn created my reality. And I'm really excited to be here. And I'm also really excited to invite you over here and invite you to rise to, what your life of your wildest dreams really does look like as well. And so I want to kind of rewind this back into, I started business coaching. So I started the Sarah J. Loureiro coaching company back in 2018. And so it was around mid 2018 that we started. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful ride. But before then, I want to remind you all, and some of you who are listening to this don't even know my full story, but back in 2017, I was working a 9-to-5 in Toronto. I was commuting every single day. I had worked that job for 6.5 years. And it's now been over 7 years that I've been full-time on my own. Sometimes I still have dreams where I'm working part-time for the agency that I used to work at. And then I'm like, this doesn't feel right. I'm pretty sure that I work on my own. I'm pretty sure that I make my own money and that I think I'm doing really well. And throughout the dream, I get so confused because I'm like, well, why am I still working there? They didn't even pay me that much. And I'm pretty sure I have this other thing that I'm doing right now. And then I wake up and I'm like, okay, yes, luckily that was all a dream. And so what if it's the same for your life? I mean, what if you're in that dream right now where you're in that 9-to-5 or you're in that life where you're just kind of like, this isn't it. And I know this isn't it because there's something else here. And what if your thoughts created a belief system and your belief system created your decisions and your decisions started to create a reality that is beyond anything that you've ever thought possible for yourself? Just what if, right? What if you can put yourself into that situation? And so back in 2017, that was the very last year that I worked in my 9-to-5. I worked in a government agency and I was making around $50K a year. Okay, just ballpark number there. And so I decided to calculate how many years I would need to be working at that job in order to create $3 million. And when I calculated it, it said that I would have to be working for 60 years. So working for 60 years, I had already worked 6 of those years. So I'd have to be working for another 54 years. And I'm just going to go ahead and pause this and see the ballpark age that I would need to be working until. All right, I'm back with some of those calculations, and I would be in my 80s. Could you imagine that? Being in your 80s and still working in order to make $3 million. I mean, of course, There are different ways that you can actually accumulate the $3 million or do other things in terms of investment. But I'm talking about earning money from the thing that you do, from the business that you have, or from the job that you have. So I'm not even talking about assets here. So if we just calculate things that way, I would have to be working another 54 years to make what I've basically made. It took me the 3 million. It's been 7 years since I started this business, yes, but I would say the vast majority of that 3 million has been made within the last 4 years because it just kind of keeps on going up. So within 4 years, if I could make $3 million within 4 years, let's say 4.5 years, then imagine how much better off I could be in my retirement or better off I can be in my future without necessarily even having to work more. Because in all honesty, I used to work an 8 to 4. So I used to get into work around 8 or 8:30 and I'd leave around between 4 and 4:30. And I was at my job all day. I stared at a blank wall with no windows the majority of the time. Could you imagine that? And now I'm literally in my home office and I can see the ocean from my home office. And right after this podcast episode, I'm going to go to the beach with my friends. And it's going to be 2 p.m., 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I get to do that. And I get to make more money. And so I don't even think that the Sarah 7 years ago who was making $50K a year, I didn't even think that she thought that this was possible. All she thought was possible is perhaps we could make $5K a month, or perhaps if we work really, really hard, we could make 6 figures. So to be here where I make more in 1 month than I used to make in an entire year seems very crazy to me. And I sometimes forget about it because it's been a while, right? It's been 7 years. And so I sometimes forget about where we started. And I do sometimes forget about how wildly different things are. And I think it could be very easy to take a look at someone's life and say, oh, well, they've always had it this good. But I haven't. And I think that that's the beautiful part of it is if I haven't always had it this good, then that means that, well, I worked for it and I worked for it within a very short amount of time. And if I can work for it in a very short amount of time, that means that anyone can. You haven't missed any windows. You can still do this for yourself as well. And of course, now I have even bigger goals. And now I have things that sometimes I get frustrated because they don't happen as quickly as I want them to happen even now. But then I take a look back and what I've started to realize is the life that I usually want takes about 1 or 2 years to materialize in terms of my manifestations. I've seen that over time. And so even when I was in my 9 to 5 in 2017, all I wanted is to have a beautiful house of my own and to be working on my own and be able to go to the beach at least once a month. And then boom, 1 or 2 years later, I got that. In 2020, we built our dream home. By mid-2020, I was already getting into the house. I was already putting in furniture into that house. It didn't really take that long to do. But in 2017, 2018, I couldn't necessarily see it yet. I was so excited to have it. And then I remember in 2019, just kind of walking through the beaches. Maybe this was 2020, actually. Walking through the beach and saying, it would be so nice to have a beachfront home. It would be so nice even just to have a condo on the beach or in a beach town that we can go to. Maybe we can even rent it out and do it like an Airbnb. And little did I know that a few years later, I would actually buy a beach property, and not just to rent it out, but actually to live in it. And then I started renting out my dream home that I had built back in 2020. And so all of it materialized. It just didn't materialize specifically in the way I thought. I thought I was going to live full time in the mountains in my home there and then come to the beach and just like vacation at the beach. I didn't realize that I was actually going to live at the beach and rent in the mountains. I don't necessarily vacation there. But everything that I've wanted and everything that's been on my vision boards has happened. It's moved into place. And it hasn't just been because of hard work, although hard work is a huge part of it. I think it's also understanding and believing that it's possible for you. And just making sure that you're continuing to hold that vision in place for yourself. You don't need to attach yourself to it. You have plenty of time to work on it. I just found a wallpaper in my phone from 2022. At the time of recording this, we're in July of 2025. So found a wallpaper from 2022 on my phone that was my manifestation list. And little did I know, there was a photo in there that said adventure. And so there was one that said adventure. There was one that was basically just like a business type photo, just to kind of represent, like how much I wanted to really up level in terms of my ability to become a CEO. And there was another photo there that said Gucci. There was a photo in there from Europe. And so I looked at that and I was like, wow, all of these things came true. Another one, it was just like vacation home. And little did I know in 2022 that in 2024, I was going to purchase a home right here in a small beach town. But the funniest thing about that photo is there was a car in the adventure photo. And I didn't choose the adventure photo for the car, for the vehicle that was there. I just chose it to signify that I wanted to take more adventures. And when I looked back at it recently, I realized that we bought that car. We bought that Jeep. It's a Jimny. And we bought the car that was in the photo. Like the Jeep that's in the photo is even black. We bought a black Jeep. And it's just so crazy to me because I remember looking at those photos and organizing all of them and organizing them on Canva in terms of this vision board for myself and thinking to myself, oh, these things are probably not going to happen. Right? Or like, have you ever thought that to yourself? Like, maybe these things aren't going to happen. Maybe I'm just being very foolish, very silly with my manifestations. Why should I even put it up there? But I put it up anyways. And I was looking at it every single day because it was my screen, my lock screen for my phone. And now that I can look back on it 2 or 3 years later, everything came true. I even bought a Gucci bag. I bought a Gucci bag by the end of that year. And it has to this day been my only luxury item I've ever purchased, but it felt so good to purchase it because one of the reasons why I wanted to purchase it was just to signal to myself that money will always come and go and it's safe to spend money on frivolous things. So I have that Gucci bag in my closet and it was on that vision board. And so I just started to create a new vision board this year, 2025. And I'm thinking the same things. I'm thinking, these things are never going to happen. They're going to take way too long. Why am I even doing this? This is so silly. But now as I look back, like I never thought that I'd have a business that reached $3 million. I mean, I would look at people who had, 6-figure businesses at one point and be like, how is that possible? How can someone do that? And your dreams and your goals just keep on up-leveling and keep on up-leveling. And I think it's just a really, really beautiful thing. And what I think I also didn't understand about all of this is truly how you can, once you really reprogram your brain and start to think differently, you can literally defy all of the stereotypes that you've ever been taught. Like I was always taught, you have to exchange time for money. And I think it's a very noble, very beautiful thing to be taught because you want to teach your kids that, money is something that you do need to work for so that they don't take advantage of it. Yes. But now I'm realizing once you get up to a certain level, it's actually a lot simpler to create more wealth for yourself. And it doesn't actually take the same amount of time as it did before. And I think that's just such an interesting part of running your own business and being the creator of what it is that you're doing and really building your own legacy is that you can start to defy all the stereotypes, all of the things that you were taught that were supposed to keep you safe. But really defying all those things is the very reason why you can have more creativity and more freedom in your life. And it's been a really wild ride for me. I mean, I've seen the online space before COVID and I've seen the online space after COVID. And I think that a lot of people think it's oversaturated now, but I thought it was oversaturated back then too. And not to mention that now I see my clients are making even more money. So I'm seeing that the space is growing. I'm seeing that there are more people who are understanding what coaches do And there's more people who are warming up to the fact of, potentially hiring a coach for themselves. This is all really, really positive stuff. So not only is the market, yes, a little bit noisier, but also there are a lot more people who are investing in themselves because they've warmed up to the idea of, yeah, I can hire someone online and they can actually really help me with my life. And so I think that this industry is just going to keep on growing. I actually think that we're in our infancy, and I've been doing research about it, and everything kind of shows the same. And so if that's the case, then why don't we all manifest and continue to do our vision boards and continue to believe that more and more and more is possible? Because I think that we're just in the beginning of everything that we are capable of doing in our online businesses. And I hope that this story has really inspired you to see what's possible for you, because I wouldn't have wanted to be working up until I'm 84 to make the same amount of money that I just made in the past 4 or 5 years. That's really incredible. And I want the same for you. And I want everyone to be able to experience something like this in their lifetime, because I think that life's too short to not believe in yourself. And this is what this whole ride has really taught me as well. So I'd love to hear from you. What are you currently manifesting? And what has shown up for you lately? Let me know. You can always reach out to me on Instagram. It's at Sarah without an H. So Sarah J. Loureiro. That's Loureiro. And let me know how much you liked this episode. If you did like it, it would mean the world to me if you left us an amazing review or shared this with your friend. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarahjloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.